on. Good morning. Welcome. Welcome to this virtual and in-person service of the Idaho Falls Unitarian Universalist Church on the 23rd day of October 2022. We welcome you. We know that you come here for different reasons: to find community, to seek your spiritual and personal truths, to question, to nurture your heart and soul, to be nurtured, to explore new ideas, to find comfort, and perhaps to find the answers to some of your bigger questions. If you are watching online, please sign in to the chat box so we may know who is attending, and it will enable you to send in your joys and concerns. I am Ron Goen, and I will be assisting the Reverend Kevin Carson in the service this morning. For announcements, number one, I guess next Sunday there will be Halloween or costume contest. So if you want to come dressed in whatever. And after the service at the coffee hour this morning, the Philosophical Society is going to be hosting a table downstairs, so make note of that. For those folks watching online, donations can be made online at the website IdahoFallsUU.org. Just click on the Give button in the upper right-hand corner, and they can also, donations can also be mailed into UUCIF, Post Office Box 50376, Idaho Falls 83405. Any donations are gratefully received. And one more announcement.
Finally, we're going to have root beer floats this Sunday. We promised them 2 weeks ago. We forgot last week. But this week will be the week, and we hope that ice cream will be melted sufficiently. Or not too much.
This week will be?
Today. After, during coffee hour.
Will be, say again, please?
Root beer floats.
He couldn't hear you, Victoria.
You can't hear me?
I can't hear you.
Not very well.
I have a hearing problem anyway.
So do I, darling. So after church, we'll finally have the promised root beer floats. So you can either have root beer floats or drink coffee or do whatever you need to. And then philosophize.
So, root beer floats. That sounds pretty good. All right. If you have joys and concerns, please write them on the little slips of paper back in the corner, and we will read those a little bit later. Are there any other announcements? No. Okay. Okay, now let us prepare ourselves for worship. Calm our hearts, our minds, our breathing. Breathe deeply in and out, listening to your breath as I ring the peace bowl 3 times.
Who among us has not seen the image of the Earth from space as the planet turns under the light of the sun and morning advances? Always half spangled black, half glistening blue and green, the ball rolls. And mountains and coastlines, seas and continents slowly emerge into the sun. It stirs me, I have to say, to watch satellite video of morning flowing over the earth like a bright tide. I imagine boats full of brass choirs bumping along the advancing edge of the flow, heralding the morning. But in fact, that's almost exactly what has happened every day for how many days? 60 million years. So 21,900,000,000 days. For that many days, there have been birds that stir in the breeze that precedes the sunrise, lift their heads, and begin to sing. The dawn chorus, people call it, the especially brilliant bird songs that begin the day. Who knows why birds pour out their hearts first thing in the morning? Maybe the air is cool and sound travels farther. Maybe the morning before the foraging gets good is spare time that the birds fill with singing, the avian analog of a second cup of coffee. Probably singing in the morning demonstrates fitness, saying, I am strong, I am fully alive, I have lived through the night and emerged full-throated from my dark shelter with energy and joy to spare. All good reasons to sing. Recording artists have followed the sun around the world, recording the dawn chorus on continent after continent, the great unrolling of song as the earth turns. Again, that tide of sparkling light advancing over the darkness, lifting song after song. Imagine the magic of this planet. Dear God, we live on a music box that plinks out music as the earth turns. No, we live on something even more magical than a music box, because pink morning light, not little metal pins, plucks the prongs. Who could have the whimsy and aesthetic abandon to invent such a marvelous machine? Who would not treasure it and pass it down, carefully preserved, to the children?
Our church's covenant helps us to remember why we are a part of this faith and why we give our time and our resources to this congregation. If you so choose, please recite along with me the covenant that this congregation has chosen to live by. Love is the spirit of this community, and service its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. The chalice lighting is accompanied by the words from Albert Schweitzer. At times, our own light goes out and is rekindled by a spark from another person. Each of us has cause to think with deep gratitude of those who have lighted the flame within us.
Good morning. Our call to worship this morning is A Prayer for the Animals by Thomas Rhodes. You birds of the air, hawk, sparrow, and laughing jay, you embody freedom itself. Delight us with your song. Astound us with feats of migration. Grant us your perspective, for too often our horizons are limited, and we are blind to the full results of our actions. You worms of the earth, ants, beetles, spiders, and centipedes, you are the essential but oft-forgotten strand in nature's web. Through you, the cycle is complete. Through you, new life arises from old. Remind us of our humility, for the wheel of life does not turn around us. We are not the axle, but merely spokes, no less than unseen, unknown, and shunned companions such as yourselves. You creatures of the field and wood, marsh and desert, bear and bison, skunk and squirrel, weasel and wolf. Too often we have sacrificed your homes in the name of progress, clear-cutting the forest to fill our desire, or covering the earth with tarmac, cement, and suburban lawns. Pray that we may remember that the earth was not given for our needs alone, and what we do to you, we eventually do to ourselves. You animals of the farm, horse and cow, pig and fowl, willingly or not, you give your very lives for us, your milk for our nourishment, your flesh for our sustenance. Yet too often we forget that the meat on our tables was once as alive as we are. Forgive our willful ignorance, and remind us constantly to give thanks for your sacrifice. You dearest companions in our lives, dogs and cats, hamsters and goldfish, you who are with us today and you who will always be present in our memories. You have enriched our lives in so many ways, endured our shortcomings with calm acceptance, taught us something of our humanity, taught us how to love. May we hold you in our hearts throughout the days of our lives. Amen. I invite you now to rise in body or spirit and join us in singing our opening hymn, number 15, The Lone Wild Bird.
In lofty flight,
and rest in me.
The medieval Christian mystic Meister Eckhart once said, "Apprehend God in all things, for God is in all things. Every single creature is full of God, and is a book about God. Every creature is a word of God. If I spent enough time with the tiniest creature, even a caterpillar, I would never have to prepare a sermon. So full of God is every creature." So in this spirit this morning, recognizing the sacredness of the animals among us, let us now introduce them and bestow the blessing of our community upon them. I invite you to bring your animals forward one at a time and introduce them. I'll have a microphone for you. And after each introduction, I would ask the community to recite the blessing printed in your order of service. So, I'll let you introduce them.
This is Honey, my companion for the last 10 and a half years. We've been through life together now.
Honey, we honor and bless you as a unique and beautiful creature. We thank you for your love and companionship,
and we wish you a long and healthy life.
This is Mitzi, and as you can tell, she's probably really anxious. She's been with me for about 14 years. She's been with me for 14 years, and we both have really high anxiety, so it works well.
Mitzi, we honor and bless you as a unique and beautiful creature. We thank you for your love and companionship, and we wish for you a long and healthy life.
Hello, this is Georgie. She's a Havanese. We've had her for 2 years. Got her during the shutdown of the pandemic. Havanese is the national dog of Cuba. They're bred to herd chickens, supposedly. So when you give your blessing, please give it in Spanish.
Georgie, we honor and bless you as a unique and beautiful creature. We thank you for your love and companionship, and we wish for you a long and healthy life. Okay. You want me to do it? Well, this is our dog Atka, and she is an Alaskan Malamute. She is 9 months old, believe it or not, and still growing. And she is excited to be here this morning. So, Atka, we honor and bless you as a unique and beautiful creature. We thank you for your love and companionship, and we wish for you a long and healthy life.
Hi, this is Winston. He is terrified. He doesn't like to spend time around dogs, so this is good socialization. Winston we think, is a Maltipoo. We got him at the animal shelter 3.5 years ago. Yeah. And so he also belongs to Drew over there, and he is Rob's granddog. Winston.
Winston, we honor and bless you as a unique and beautiful creature. We thank you for your love and companionship, and we wish for you a long and healthy life.
Any others? We've got one picture.
These are my two little fur babies. Missy's the little girl and Casper's the little boy. They're Deshaun's. They're 8 years old and they're spoiled rotten.
We'll do these together. Missy and Casper, we honor and bless you as unique and beautiful creatures. We thank you for your love and companionship, and we wish for you a long and healthy life. Any others? If not, we'll give one last one for all the animals who could not be here this morning. We honor and bless you as unique and beautiful creatures. We thank you for your love and companionship, and we wish for you a long and healthy life.
Are there any other joys or concerns? We'll now read the joys and concerns that were sent in. This is from Pam. A joy, we welcome Ivy and Robin. Okay. And Victoria, a joy and a concern. Joy that it rained. Concern about Dennis Jorgensen. Health. Please keep him in our prayers. From Karen Croft, a concern. May all the children with respiratory problems recover and be sent home to remain well for the rest of the season. And also from Karen, sorrow. My favorite cousin Dixie is dying of lung cancer and in hospice in Spokane, Washington. Are there any other joys or concerns? Are there any? None. And for all those joys and concerns that are left unspoken, we'll light one more candle.
Our reading this morning comes from the book The Inner Life of Animals by Peter Wohlleben.
Before we dive deeper into the emotional and inner life of animals, we should ask once again whether the idea is too far-fetched. After all, we need to have certain brain structures in order to process the emotions we experience, at least according to current
Thinking in science. The answer is pretty clear. It is the limbic system that allows us to experience the full range of joy, grief, fear, or desire, and together with other areas of the brain, it facilitates the appropriate physical reactions. These brain structures are very old in evolutionary terms, and so we share them with many mammals: goats, dogs, horses, cows, pigs. The list goes on and on. According to recent research, not only mammals, but also birds and even fish, which biologists rank far lower on the evolutionary scale, belong on this list. All vertebrates have had the hardware for emotions for a very long time. But does that mean animals feel things the same way we do? Much points in that direction. Scientists have even found oxytocin in fish, the hormone that not only brings joy to mothers, but also strengthens the love between partners. Joy and love in fish. We're not going to be able to prove that, at least not for the foreseeable future. But if there's any doubt, why do we assume they are guilty as charged? Scientists have spoken out against emotions in animals for so long that their view is mostly accepted. But wouldn't it be better to give animals the benefit of the doubt, to be sure they are not suffering needlessly? An offering to support the mission of this church will now be given and gratefully received. A few years ago, I ran across the Tree of Life poster you see on my right in the gift shop of the New England Botanic Garden at Tower Hill in Boylston, Massachusetts. I really like the way it depicts all forms of life in a family tree, starting with the earliest bacteria and other single-celled organisms up to the present time of humans and the countless species that share the earth with us. It is a lovely way of showing the nearly 4 billion year story of the evolution of life, combined with a reminder of how intimately related we and all other forms of life truly are. The earth is alive with billions of life forms, representing millions of unique species, most of which we routinely ignore. Some are so tiny we need a microscope to even see them. They dwell in the ground and on the ground, in the soil, in the oceans, rivers, lakes, and streams, in the forest canopy, and even in the air we breathe. Some, known as extremophiles, dwell in the most inhospitable places on the planet, miles below the Earth's surface, or at the crushing depths around volcanic vents on the ocean floor, or in the superheated and acidic waters of Yellowstone. Places where we used to think it would be impossible to sustain life. Life seems determined to find creative ways to evolve and flourish in every environment the earth has to offer. It is an incredible diversity of living beings getting to know the earth from which we came and getting to know each other, kindred souls in the great cosmic journey. The more we learn about animals, the more we are beginning to understand how closely related and interdependent we are. Even the smallest insects and animals have neural structures that process the information they receive from experiences. And though these structures are typically very different from our own, it is likely they experience something akin to consciousness. With our current level of understanding, though, we have no way of comprehending how they feel or think. Consciousness itself is hard to define, and Peter Wohlleben suggests the closest we can get to a definition is that it involves thinking and reflecting on things we have experienced. Such a broad definition as this makes it hard to say that animals are solely driven by instincts. Wohlleben offers the example of the fruit fly to illustrate his point. The fruit fly has roughly 250,000 cells in its central nervous system, about 1/400,000th the size of ours. And yet, in its daily routine, it must distinguish between countless stimuli to determine such things as smells that are advantageous or how to avoid danger. In other words, They too must focus their attention and filter out the background noise. Is this a rudimentary form of consciousness? And for larger animals, especially the mammals, having bigger, more complex brains means that life is more than simply a daily exercise in survival. We ponder the meaning of experiences and feel a range of emotions. We are driven by curiosity to explore the world around us. We don't know if our nearest animal relatives gaze at the stars in wonder and awe the way we do, but we do know that they have thoughts and feelings similar to our own. As the primatologist Jane Goodall said, if you look into a chimpanzee's eyes, you know you're looking into a thinking mind. They teach us that we are not the only beings with personalities, minds capable of rational thought, altruism, and a sense of humor. That leads to a new respect for other animals, respect for the environment, and respect for all life. I believe this is also true of the animals' companions that grace our lives. Anyone who has known the love of a pet understands the deep bond we can form with animals and how they can enrich our lives. They are happy to be around us and may greet us with unbridled enthusiasm when we come home. They can sense when we are stressed or sad, and they can bring us comfort by their companionship in even the darkest hours of our lives. Medical research has demonstrated the benefits of having a pet at every stage of life. Just gazing into a pet's eyes can produce hormones in both our bodies that bring joy and contentment. It is easy to feel the mutual love of an animal companion. Our pets also communicate very effectively with us through vocalizations and gestures, and they can learn a remarkable human vocabulary. Certain words can trigger such a powerful, predictable response that we end up having to spell them out lest they hear us mentioning going O-U-T before we are ready for the excitement. Our previous dog, Holly, used to repeatedly smack her stainless steel water bowl when it was empty, a sound not to be ignored. Our current dog, Adka, lets us know she needs water by standing with her front paws on the edge of the kitchen sink and poking the faucet with her snout. If we fail to move fast enough, she barks to let us know. We certainly never trained this behavior intentionally, but she seems to be a keen observer of how things work. Faucets are where the water comes from. This human-animal bond is strong, and it has existed for a very long time. It is believed that the first dogs were domesticated from wolves as early as 40,000 years ago, long before we developed agriculture or began to live in villages. It is possible that the first domesticated dogs were seen as more utilitarian hunting partners in the beginning, but dogs just seem to be tailor-made to become beloved companions to humans. More than one grave has been discovered where a human and a dog were ritually buried together, dating to at least 14,000 years ago. Cats are believed to have been domesticated in the Near East as early as 12,000 years ago, though some cat owners would likely dispute whether cats are truly domesticated or merely tolerate our presence. And if you've ever known a cat, there is no doubt they are thinking about something all the time. The ancient Greeks and Romans were especially fond of their pet dogs, calling them fosters, indicating that they viewed them as members of the family. When their pets died, they were often buried along the roadside, just like humans, and those who could afford it erected monuments to their beloved animals, including touching poetic epitaphs. Here are a couple of examples. Here the stone says it holds the white dog from Melita, the most faithful guardian of Eumelus. Bull, they called him while he was yet alive, but now his voice is prisoned in the silent pathways of the night. And Isa's more pert than Lesbia's sparrow love, purer than kisses of a turtle dove, more sweet than 100 maidens rolled in one, rarer than the wealthy India's precious stone. She is the pet of Publius. Isa, dear, she whines a human voice you seem to hear. These people clearly loved their pets. And as anyone who has lost a beloved pet knows, the grief can be very deep. It can break our hearts as only the death of a loved one can. It doesn't matter what kind of critter they were. It can be hard to appreciate, but this too is part of the beauty of adopting a pet. We know that most pets, except for some birds, have relatively short lifespans compared to our own, and we accept this as part of the deal. They teach us to cherish life, to cherish the life we are given and share our joy with others, to laugh often and love much, as the saying goes. Animals have also been revered as spiritual creatures and even deities from the earliest days of religion. They are celebrated in countless stories in Holy Scripture. The Jataka tales of Buddhism tell stories about the Buddha's many incarnations as an animal, for example. And there's even a pet dog mentioned in the Hebrew Scriptures in the book of Tobit. Mythical creatures that include mixed characteristics of known animals have also emerged in many spiritual traditions: winged horses, unicorns, and winged serpents, chimeric creatures limited only by the human imagination. In many ancient sacred places, such as the Neolithic site Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, the conspicuous depictions of animals make it clear that animals have been important in religion for thousands of years. And this continues to be the case in some parts of the world. If you were in Nepal this week, you could join in the annual Kukur Tihar festival celebrated by Hindus in the region. During this 5-day festival, people honor the sacred nature of dogs, cows, and crows. Dogs and cows are decorated with colorful marks called tilaka on their foreheads, and sometimes on their paws and legs. And garlands of flowers are draped around their necks. Even stray dogs are honored and given offerings of food and milk. Dogs are believed to be the messengers of the god of death, Yama, so this festival is aimed in part at appeasing the god. Disrespecting gods is considered a sin. If American dogs ever learn about this holiday, I'm sure it will be added to the calendar. Cats will probably insist on their own festival too. Animals, both real and imagined, were among the first subjects ever rendered in human art. In the caves of Lascaux in France, for example, there are spectacular, anatomically accurate paintings of ancient animals that have been dated to at least 17,000 years ago. And as we've learned from indigenous cultures around the world, it is easy to imagine that these ancient artists recognized their dependence on many of these animals for their sustenance and paid tribute to them in art, thanking them for their sacrifice and praying for their continued abundance. Indigenous peoples developed rituals specific to the animals they hunted for food, and animals became deeply ingrained in their spirituality, celebrated as brothers and sisters of the human family. The interdependent web of all existence was more than a concept. It was a recognized, lived reality every single day. Though most of us are no longer hunting and gathering the food we live on, I think it is good practice to regularly give thanks for the lives of farm animals as a reminder of the interdependent web of life. One of the things I like about living in Idaho is being surrounded by agriculture that is readily visible. It reminds me daily that we owe a sacred debt to the animals and plants of the world for our existence. And while we're at it, We should also give thanks for the many wild animals of this world. Most simply share this earthly home with us, living in natural ecosystems within which their species have adapted through millions of years of evolution, a delicate ecological balance that we often jeopardize by reckless human behavior. It is thrilling to see bison and elk roaming free in Yellowstone and Grand Teton, or to see a grizzly, or to see a hawk or eagle in flight. There are few sights more stirring to the human soul than wild nature in all its splendor. Just a couple of days ago, I was fortunate to watch a male kestrel hunting in the field outside my window as I was working on this sermon. He was having a rough time of it in the strong winds, and I'm sure the field mice were grateful. Today we have bestowed blessings on some of the companion animals who share our lives, and we have taken a few minutes to honor the sacred lives of all the world's animals. Whether we think of them as useful to human beings, wildlife, or our beloved soulmates, they all share our world and have evolved to coexist with us in this age of our planet's history. We could not exist without them. They deserve to be acknowledged and even revered. So let us now take a few moments of silence to think about them, to recall the joy they have given us, to reflect on the sacredness in every living creature, and to know in the hearts of our beings that we are not alone in this world. Amen. I invite you now to rise in body and spirit and join in singing our closing hymn, number 175. We celebrate the web of life.
We celebrate the web of life, its magnitude we sing, for we can see divinity in every living thing. A fragment of the perfect whole in cactus and in quail, as much in tiny barnacle as in the great blue whale. Of ancient dreams we are the sum, our bones link stone to star, and bind our future worlds to come with worlds that were and are. Respect the water, land, and air, which gave all creatures birth. Protect the lives of all that share the glory of the earth.
Our closing words come from Walt Whitman. I think I could turn and live with animals. They are so placid and self-contained. I stand and look at them long and long. They do not sweat or whine about their condition. They do not lie awake in the dark and weep for their sins. They do not make me sick discussing their duty to God. Not one is dissatisfied. Not one is demented with the mania of owning things. Not one kneels to another, nor to his kind that lived thousands of years ago. Not one is respectable or unhappy over the whole earth.
Please join with me in reading the words for extinguishing the chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of a commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Please join us all downstairs for coffee.